Hi Desiree, I'm just looking at your brochure. It's looking pretty good. I just kind of noticed this is really close to the edge. So one thing, you could maybe just center this, maybe with this button here. And then we have some hyphenation that we don't want. So in the Properties panel under Paragraph, there's this little hyphenate box we can check to get rid of the hyphenation. You can also just do a straight up align center. Sometimes that works better. And we could even kind of bring it in just a little bit more. Oops. It looks like you might have had a couple returns in there. Just so that there's a little bit more breathing room around. There is room, to create a little bit more breathing room around this text. Something maybe more like that. And then one thing you could do is you could line up all of the bottoms of the boxes. So just, bring up the box to where it's tight around. If you do Option Command C, it'll automatically just get really tight around the boxes, and then you can align up here or in the Properties panel. There might, well, up here with Essentials Classic, you can use the alignment here. So align the bottom edges so we can get them all aligned through the bottom, or even like just this one could be, more centered on the front panel. And I'm noticing that this background image that you used, if I look at the info panel, I don't think that is going to be high enough resolution to use at this size. And plus I can see there's a little white poking through here, so you'd have to kind of, move it over a little bit inside with the white arrow tool. If I push W, I can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm going to move this, oops, I'm going to move the template. I'm just going to delete it. But I'm noticing also if I go around the edges after I push W, I can see some of these shapes you created probably need to go all the way to the bleed line. So we need to push Shift to open up this anchor point and just bring it to or past the bleed line. Same goes for this. I don't think you want this red showing, so we could just quickly pull that outside of the red bleed line. This one's right at the bleed line, but it could be kind of moved over just to be safe. So there's a couple issues with the bleed line, and that stroke is something that you want on your design, but maybe not contained within the bleed line. The bleed line ends here, so maybe something closer to this would be a little bit better as far as your bleeds go. And then this picture isn't really meeting all the bleed areas. So one way of kind of thinking about this is, we could, I did kind of do this in our in the videos that I created, but if we use the rectangle frame tool and then click and drag over the bleed all the way to the bleed, just the size, because we're going to bring in that hiker image. So File, Place, we have it selected. Oh, and we want to go into the Properties panel and go under Frame Fitting. When we're still on the Frame tool, we have it selected here, the one that we created, and we want to push Auto Fit right here under the Properties panel, and then do a File, Place. And I think I have your brochure folder here with the links, so I think the hiker's viewing is right here. So that'll automatically size it to the correct size for all the way to the bleed line. And then we can arrange it send to back. And that looks good because it's all the way to the edge of the bleed line. If we push W, that's looking pretty good. I think, there's just a few small things here, mostly having to do with maybe like if I get close, I can see that these aren't quite matching up. It's kind of not a huge deal, but you could easily, move these anchor points around so that they're matching up a little. Well, it's not that easy, actually. I can see why you were having trouble with this. Just lining these up so that they're a little bit closer together, maybe. One way, too, is the stroke. Maybe the stroke is aligned to the center, but it might help to have it like that. We'll do it the same on this one. And then it might be easier to actually line them up this way if we do it like that. And that did help a little bit to actually be able, oops, gosh, what am I doing? To be able to line those up a little bit better. And actually you might even want them to overlap unless you want like a thicker line in the middle. But at least we don't have, at least these points are coming to a nice clean point now. And some of the images you used, I'm not sure, it just doesn't seem like they're high enough resolution to use. Some of them are okay, but I know for sure this one is not high enough resolution to use at this size. So maybe a different image for the background, just because of the large size would have been good. This has some of the same problems. I mean, the hyphenation here is okay, but you can always remove that with the Properties panel under Paragraph. This text is really close to the fold line here. This one's not quite as bad. This one's okay. It's getting kind of close in there. So, you know, maybe changing the width of these boxes would have been probably maybe a good idea. And I think you have some strange things maybe going on with your images. Like they're in these huge boxes. Like your image is in this really big box. So you have, if I grab it with the white arrow tool, it's within this huge box. So, I mean, one way of dealing with this is just to delete this. And once again, using that rectangle frame tool, clicking and dragging the size of box you want, making sure in the Properties panel you have checked Auto Fit, do a file place, and then bring in, you know, that Wake Up Fort Benton picture, and it'll bring it in at the right size. And it'll be within its bounding box that you created, and you won't have that weird box. This one's at a decent DPI. This one, I don't think you have a weird, there's another big box here, and I think it's what this image is inside of a really big box, this JPEG. And that's the same JPEG you used on the front page, I think. I mean, the same image. And then, you know, there's a couple of, you know, problems with the bleeds, you know, like if we come here, you know, with this pink color, the salmon pink color, you might want to just, I don't know, fill all this in, you know, create the pen tool here and just fill it all in. I don't know if you have it in your swatches panel. Yeah, you do. And just fill it in with, so that the bleed, this pink color goes all through the bleed, if that makes any sense. And the same goes, you know, you'd want to bring that all the way out to, so you could make the stroke larger, you know, you could make it and align it to the outside. And just keep pushing it out to the bleed line, and that would be better that way, I think. Although I can see that you probably wanted, let's see. I don't know, that didn't really work the way I thought it would. You might just have to draw like a thin box with the rectangle tool, you know, all the way, and then put that color in, no stroke, but just a color to take it all the way to the bleed line. But other than that, it looks really good. These images could have all been the same size, just to clean up the design a little bit. And using that rectangle frame tool is a really good way of doing that. And then maybe even between these paragraphs, there could have been maybe a little bit more leading, maybe at 19 for each one of these, just to kind of give a little bit more space. Of course, you know, you start running out of room if you're not careful, but that's kind of, it's always just kind of a very gentle, like, guessing game. And these would have looked maybe good, like lined up, you know, in some sort of way. But yeah, going through and just adding, and this maybe should, you know, do something like this, maybe. Yeah, and maybe get rid of these, this hyphenation, because none of the other ones are hyphenated. And, just kind of add in, and maybe even put a return in here, since it's kind of a longer thing. So just kind of cleaning up the text a little bit. It takes a little while to learn how to work with the text, but something a little bit closer to that would be slightly better. And then bringing it away from the fold lines just a little bit, and maybe getting rid of the hyphenation in the properties panel under paragraph. So anyway, this ran a little long, but I hope that you have a good winter break. I will get back to you on what classes I think you should take for spring, and I'll get you some classes that you should take for spring, and I'll get you the advisor pin. Okay, we'll talk to you later. Bye.